Hello, David.
Hello, my friend.
What's going on?
Bit of the same olds this week after a good week of Magic Round, week of footy.
Yeah,
Yourself?
no, it's yeah, same old as our riveting off-air conversation alluded to. If you notice here, actually, for those watching YouTube, you can see how I do my tips in the background. I've just
I should probably
realised,
start using my
but
dartboard. Be better than what
um,
I'm doing.
yeah, it's a bit like that these days. But yeah, Magic Round is in the book, the fifth Magic Round, and it was pretty good, wasn't it, David?
No, it wasn't.
Except for
No, the
your
weekend was
team.
good. Sharks are rubbish. I don't think they've won a game at Magic Round now 3 years in a row. So
Oh, really?
going fantastic. They got like a winning record of 30% up there as well. I heard during the week. So
Wow.
they obviously like Suncorp.
Hopefully we'll get a couple of friends on the show. We had to hope to have someone on today, but personal issue there. But hopefully next few weeks we'll catch up with them as well. Good man, action. But our Magic Round correspondent. But I thought it lived up to the hype. The weather was good. The track ended up surprisingly good. Probably got better as the weekend went on.
It
And
seems to.
um, I thought only other thing I'll mention is I thought Fox did a pretty good job of conveying, and I don't know whether it's just sort of a subconscious thing because obviously we've been up there and know what's involved, but I thought they did a pretty
Yeah.
good job of conveying how much fun the round is and how good the atmosphere is up there. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly the same, mate. Good to see we didn't see some of the stories that we saw out of Magic Round last year with some crowds, some patrons getting stuck into each other. I don't think we saw any of that this year, which is good to see. It looked like a really good carnival atmosphere up there again, and can't wait to get up there again next
Yeah, definitely. Everything across the board was well done, and all the reports are good. No judiciary either. There was no targeting of high shots. No one got banned. There was just a handful of fines, which we don't even really need to talk about. So
year. I think
that's
they went a little
good.
bit soft on the head highs, to be honest, considering what they brought in last year. There's
Depends who
probably
you
one or
ask.
two I thought could have got pulled up, but that goes.
Depends who sponsors you ask, I suppose. Uh, Not saying anything else. I have enough Penrith fans shouting at me. Uh, just quickly, yeah, as I said, there's not a great deal of judiciary news. In fact, none to come out injury
So
wise.
Nico copped the fine, did he? That's
Yeah, everyone
handy for
copped a
Shark
fine.
supporter.
Yeah, there's heaps of fine. There's four fines
Yeah.
from all the bins. Injury wise, it's four HIAs capable and forward of being monitored, but could well have been named this week. Moses and Butcher were category one, so they'll miss a game this round. The only other injury was Bateman's hamstring, which happened in,
The
at
warm up,
least to
wasn't
my
it?
knowledge, happened during the warm up there, and was complainers and tightness. He's been named this week, so again we'll see what happens there. So I guess the biggest talking point is the sponsor from the Warriors, the chief of the ones, Jason Paris, had a crack at the referees. Just it's this week's storm in a teacup, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Realistically, as a a sponsor of a club, he probably really shouldn't be going out of his way to say that kind of stuff. I understand. Yeah, there was a lot of there was a few 50-50s in that game, and it didn't seem like any of them did go the Warriors' way. But to come out and say that they've been systematically cheating against the Warriors for a while, like you see it from all the fans as well. I don't really understand that. You go, but like you just Warriors have been horrible for 4 or 5 years now. This year, yes, they've been fantastic compared to previous seasons, but it's just a simple thing. The team on top seems to roll, and they don't get penalised as much as the team that's not playing as well in pretty much every game every weekend. So there may be some sort of subconscious bias thing there, but once the team's up and rolling, it's pretty hard to pull up the momentum and give away penalties when you've got momentum.
Yeah, I think Graham Annesley more or less said the same thing. Said, well, the better teams attack more, so they're going to receive more penalties, having more ball. But yeah, look, I thought we'll get to that game, but I thought there were a couple of calls that were probably advantageous, or the timing seemed to suit Penrith more than the other. But what am I going to say? Matt Checken responded today. The referee's boss apparently they've sought legal action. I'll just read out his quote here. We feel strongly enough to seek legal opinion and based information. We'll pursue whatever means necessary to ensure that it's a deterrent for anyone who thinks about making such comments around bias. We feel comments made by this person don't reflect 99% of people that know anything or follow rugby league. I'll just leave that there, I think.
I'd argue your percentages.
So would I. That's why I'm
Give
just going to
give
leave
me
it
10
there.
seconds. I'm going to get there's a big yellow idiot about to get tangled up in my cable.
No,
Back in a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, what can you say? It's pretty sad when you start to resort to saying things like that. The referees, I don't think, are intentionally going against anybody at any time. But what do you do? People get passionate and get pissed off when their team loses. A couple of arguable calls. Forward one, I think, was at the end of the day was a hip drop. Could have been a penalty without us in bin, and you move on. But the jumper punch is a jumper punch, and I dare say that he probably deserved 10 minutes for being an idiot. So.
Yes, yeah, I think so. We saw, I thought by and large, most of the high shots were handled pretty well, penalty and move on, and for the round. So, it was what it was. There's no over the board stuff for the rest of the round. Look, in the last 2 years, Queensland teams up there are 7 from 7. So, maybe something to keep in mind this time next year. 4 from 4 this week, and they were a clean sweep last year. So yeah, maybe it's a target round for some of these. We saw also all forms of weather. The track, as I said, I thought we had grave concerns Friday night, and as it seemed to dry out, apart from when the rain came, it didn't really put a dampener on the last game. So all things being equal, was pretty good.
Yeah, they just seemed to keep collecting the divots and filling them up with sand, and it seemed to actually get a little bit firmer underfoot by halfway sort of through Saturday. So
yeah,
well for them.
Any other news you want to touch on? Or?
No, not realistically, not around rugby league.
Cool. Any other news in the world you want to touch on, David?
Don't get me started on that. That's another whole 3-hour podcast. That is.
Okay, we'll save that for some. Yeah, let's get into it. As you said, 4 from 4 for the Queensland teams, but it kicked off 6 p.m. Friday with a funny old game. The Raiders realistically should have won by more, I would have thought, but 34-30, the final score to kick us off in Magic Round. What did the stats say?
Yeah, so NRL.com's mucked around with their
their app's awful
their stats
now.
a little bit at the moment,
and also
they haven't changed
have you got
much.
The new phone app?
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, there are a few other nice little stats in there, time and possession and things like that. But they've taken away the amount of sets from each game, so I won't be able to give you that one. But we had 5 tries to 6, 5 out of 5 conversions, played 4 out of 6 for the Raiders. 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for the Raiders. 72% completion, played 82%. 276 plus running meters and 147 plus post contact meters for the Raiders. 1 line break to 4, 23 tackle busts, played 32. 8 offloads to 10, 1 forced drop out to 3. 40-20 for the Bulldogs. 318 tackles, played 280. 11 errors by the Dogs, 9 by Canberra. 9 penalties conceded to 5. A ruck infringement against both sides, and 1 inside the 10 against both sides. Supercoach points, Tomoko with 119, Preston with 86, and Hudson Young with 79.
Yeah, well, apparently Corey Horsburgh is now unstoppable and is now the Ranger equivalent of Gordon Tallis when every time he touches the ball. Because
something like that.
Every time he had the ball, it took 4 or 5 blokes to stop him in that first half. It was absolutely unbelievable. I don't know where this has come from this year, but I'm enjoying it. What'd you make of the game?
It was an entertaining game of footy, but when either of these two teams are playing, absolutely anything seems to be able to happen. you have no idea what they're going to do, and then put them both together. This game's about as stable as a bloke with 1,000 schooners under his belt. He's got no idea what's going to happen, where he's at. The Raiders are well on top, and I thought this was just going to be a complete demolish job, getting close to half time. And then again, teams just seem to have these periods of 10 or 15 minutes where they completely switch off, whether it be in attack or defence or both, which was the case in this game. And the opposition just gets straight back into it. And as we've seen time and time again, since the 6 again rules come in, as soon as you get momentum, it's just so hard to break it. You're really relying on someone on the other team to do something stupid, or one of your players to come up with a massive hit and a drop ball, or something along those lines to get it back on an even keel. And that was pretty much what I saw out of this game. Massive momentum swings back and forth between the two teams. I was really happy to see Tomoko finally get some plaudits for what he's been putting in this year. I thought he's been fantastic, very consistent and very strong ball in hand for the entire season, and he really cashed in on this one, which was fantastic to see him. He looks a little bit. He looks like he may have actually even gained a little bit of pace. I don't know if that's been something they've been working on, but he's very explosive when he did get through the line times, and his footwork's quite sharp. So I had big raps on him.
Absolutely. And well, both sides. It was probably the most Canberra spread the ball. Probably last week as well. I think Whiten's being more conscious of getting the ball out to those edges. We saw Tomoko in action. Actually, well, we'll talk about the Canterbury edges first, just to tie it all together. But when you concede 4 tries off kicks,
Yep.
4 tries off kicks, and they were all soft. At the end of the day, were all soft tries, either watching bombs come down or not turning for grubbers or not covering grubbers, plus a broken field one where Croker picked up a bouncing ball and scored. I dare say Fox probably can't come back quick enough to at least shore up one of those sides. But whether it's conscious or not, back to what I was saying is it's great seeing Tomoko get that early ball. Rapana, he's a good player, isn't he? He just tries hard, makes stuff happen. When you talk about stuff happening, he's the one that usually gets it happening for Canberra, either with a hit or with a dumb bit of play as well on the flip side. But both of them were excellent. Croker has put a couple of games together now. Defensively, he was good, and in attack, he had his moments. And as I said, Horsburgh and the forward pack all did their job. It's hard to line it because as you said, it's sort of a shit show of a game. I don't know where to necessarily pull strands out to take stuff going forward. Have you got anything you want to touch on?
A couple. Young Mariota almost cost him the game there at the back end with a brain snap, hitting the bloke well before he had the ball. I didn't realistically think that it was a definite try and thought that it was probably a penalty more than a penalty try, but it was what it was, and it gave the Dogs a chance in the last couple of minutes to come back and win it. I thought the bench was disappointing from both sides again. That's where these two teams get into trouble against some of the better teams once they get that rotation happening, and their benches don't really offer a great deal when they're swapping between their major interchanges. Apart from Olawapu from the Dogs, who was good again, coming off the bench. He's definitely got something to show.
Big boy, isn't he?
Yeah, it'd be good to see down the track, get some time into him and some footy into him. Definitely someone that will be good. I'm not sure if it'll be this season, but it won't be too far away, I wouldn't imagine. The forward battle was strong and enjoyable. Both packs really sort of ripped into each other, and they were all a minimum of good, realistically, the starting forwards from both teams. Tavita Pangai, Wardell were very good. Marnie and Burton were the only real guys that were sort of putting any spark into the play for the Bulldogs, and they did conduct play quite well. Avarillo again was really good, which is something we haven't said about him in his entire career, where he's put back-to-back games together. I think he's been close to their best for the last 3 weeks. And
well, just on that, same with Riddell. And I'll just jump in there because he's been a punching bag for us for 3 years, or at least for some Canterbury-based supporters. And the last 2 weeks have been fantastic, I thought.
And Hayes Perham was a constant threat as well for him. But Preston had probably close to his best game. I know he's been good pretty much every game he's played this year, but cashed in with a couple of nice little tries off grubbers and did his work that he does week in, week out. And I thought he was probably their best player.
I feel like Burton's halfbacks can end up suiting Burton. I said last week it was worth trying.
Definitely gets him a lot more involved.
But, and just some softer touches, like instead of just obviously that boot goes up, but he had a couple of try assists off grubbers and found some nice space for other players. So I would probably, unless they've got one on the radar, and obviously we'll see where Olapu ends up, it's probably worth sticking with.
And that last 20 minutes where he was just putting up spiral bomb after spiral bomb.
Terrifying.
Poor Raiders didn't want to have anything to do with half of them. And the other half were actually pretty well handled by Chris. I think Rapana took a nice one as well.
I was going to say, when the match was on the line, Rapana was safe as houses at the end there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holding one.
Tapali and Tapane were the foundation builders for Canberra. They were really good in the middle of the field again, without being exceptional. Fogarty probably asked more questions than anybody else from the field, apart from Tomoko. His kicking game was fantastic again. And you already mentioned Rapana. Crocker, Horsburgh, and Young, I thought was fantastic as well. But I gave to Moko man of the match. I thought he was the difference. He was the reason. Like he scored 2 tries. Two tries basically came off his back with his running game and the way he broke open the line twice there to set up points. And I gave him the 3. I had Preston with 2 and Corey with 1.
Yeah, I would flip Corey and
Preston
and Horsburgh. And the only other honourable mention, Fogarty. I just thought that was his best game probably
he's
this
been
year.
consistently good probably the last 2 or 3 weeks as well. Without being a star on the field, he's definitely been one of the better ones.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful. Definitely building into something. They've now won 4 in a row, Canberra.
Yep.
Is that? Do we have to take notice of that?
I think they've been a little bit flattered. They probably got away with 1 or 2 of those games. Like this one was one they definitely could have thrown away. And one about 2 weeks ago, I think they just scraped away with. But they are winning tough, and they're winning.
The Dragons
only,
won.
4 or 6 games. They're 4 or 6 points that they're winning by. So it shows you that there's definitely a spirit and a motivation behind the club to get them in the fight at least, which is more than can be said out of a couple of teams this weekend.
Well, it's funny because I just had looked in, thinking to run might end this week, but they got Parramatta who
been very up and down.
That's a very interesting game to tip when we get there. Anyway, we saw a better return to form, and I'm happy to take a better line through this game. 32-6, the Broncos over the Sea Eagles. A game that was probably cruelled a little bit by the slippery surface. I thought Brisbane probably could have found a few more points if the likes of Walsh and Mam could actually run more than 10 metres without slipping over or not being able to change direction. But what did the stats say?
We had 1 try for Manly, 6 to Brisbane. 1 out of 1 conversions played, 4 out of 6. A missed 2-point field goal attempt by Brisbane. 65% completion played, 79%. 164 plus running meters for Brisbane. 6 line breaks to 7. 27 tackle busts played, 38. 9 offloads to 3. A forced dropout from both teams. 335 tackles played, 306. 16 errors for Manly and 12 for Brisbane. 1 penalty conceded to 4. 2 ruck infringements to 1. Cobbo with 96 Supercoach points, Walsh with 93, and Garrick with 80. What do you say? Absolute slaughter. They, from pretty much, 20 minutes in the first half, Brisbane looked well on top and just continued on with it. I think they actually went out of their way in the second half not to score as many points as they possibly could have. To me, it looked like they actually slowed down and went out of their way to give Manly a methodical beating. Like just kick the corners, get down there, be real physical, dominate them, and actually put a warning shot out basically for the rest of the competition that we can win both ways. We can be physical, we can be flashy, we can do whatever. If you're not having a good game, we'll do whatever we
want. Not wrong. I think a little bit of that was rare playing. Well, first of all, I think Reynolds was on one leg for a lot of it, but just playing the conditions, knowing. Like once their outside back started slipping and sliding, I thought they just said, "Let's not risk anything. Let's not." As you said, just we can get through this methodically, not have to risk anyone doing a knee or an ankle or something. As you said, what do you say? Because it's this is the best of the Brisbane and what they do. Like it's what they do. Haas and Carrigan roll through the middle. Flegger chimes in, and then the halves have all the time and space to get the ball out to big centers and big edges with big good footwork. And Reece Horse chimes in where he wants. It's just their template, and they executed perfectly.
Yeah, Manly didn't bring any physicality to this match whatsoever. I know they're missing Jake, but you can't tell me there wasn't a couple of other blokes out there that could have tried to put some shots on and actually change it. And
kudos to Ruben Garrick, who apparently got 85 Supercoach points for standing around. Can anyone still tell me how he got more Supercoach points this weekend? And anyway,
you'd have to go. I'd imagine it's probably a line break and some tackle bust, but yeah. Really don't know. He's probably in somebody's team that controls the points, I'd imagine. They just Manly could not contain the middle, and then they just got picked apart on both sides of the field as well. Brisbane just had their way with them realistically whenever they felt like it. There wasn't many from the Manly team that put their hand up. Aloye was okay. But Bullymore and Woods were pretty decent off the bench, considering you look at the rest of their forwards and what they did in this match. Compare it up to a couple of blokes who had 30-minute spells off the bench. Paseka and Olakawati were their best.
Like one S Kepi, 34 run meters in 50-something minutes.
Yeah. Paseka and Olakawati were their best forwards. DCE tried hard, but Yeah, didn't have a great game, and but he was probably close to the best of a pretty average bunch, realistically.
He geez, Manly fans don't like him either for some reason, but
I haven't for a long
he
time. I don't
made
know what it's about.
just a quick word on him. He led the tackle count for a halfback, which is I guess embellic of him actually craving a crack. And the fact over the last couple of years when Manly have sucked, he's the one it's his boot that keeps him remotely in these games. Again, he kicked 300 plus meters, but a lot of his kicking was what kept them anywhere near this game because otherwise they would have been completely dominated. So as I was just saying, Barney,
It was the only way they got down the other end of the field because the forwards weren't doing it for them.
So
Tom was on even less of a leg than he has been most of the year. I thought he was playing at around 50 to 60% earlier in the year. He was even below that in this game. He only sort of popped up 2 or 3 times. And
can you pick him for? You can't pick him for Origin.
Can't pick him for Origin.
Just can't pick him.
No way. Just become a target.
Not when you've got Campbell Graham who can
the
just
front line.
Especially when you've got someone like Campbell Graham who is screaming to be picked and can play centre.
Yep. I thought most everyone for the Broncos were worth mentioning. On the other hand, Stags and Mam were quiet, but everyone else had decent games. April and Ricky just do what they do. They've been quite good on those edges. They're not superstars every week, but they're one of the better ones running around. Flegler was decent. Reynolds and Farnworth were good again. Farnworth really turned into a really consistent centre, and I'm really liking what he's doing this season. And Haas and Carrigan were their best forwards. Walsh was probably the best player on the field, and Cobbo cashed in on the back of it.
I feel like Selwyn Cobbo scored a length of the field try last year.
Intercept. Yeah, intercept last year.
I'm just thinking because he lit it up with 3 tries this year. He did. I'm sure he ran length of field last year.
Yeah, almost certainly it was pretty much the same as what happened with this one.
Yeah. Oh, he did. There you go. Yeah, 38-0
last year. Intercept.
It was exactly. He got a hat trick this time last year. So you're right. Remember that for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we've been waiting for him. He's been the one piece that we haven't had yet, and he, I know they're intercepts, but he was at his best here.
It was an intercept, a little kick in behind that he just strolled onto, and there was a nice bit of physical work where he had to push a couple away to score in the corner. Yeah. The fact that he can score a hat trick with that kind of minimal involvement just tells you when he is up and going and really getting physical with his opposition, it could be danger signs for some of the outside backs in the comp going forward.
Absolutely. What else do we say? Where do for Seagulls, as I said, they've named Schuster this week.
I have no fucking idea where they go from here. They really need they've won 2 or 3 games?
Yeah.
And all 3 games have been physical in the middle of the field and gone off the back of trying to bash the opposition back. Every other game they've turned up and just got walloped through the middle of the field. So I have no idea how you can go from being so strong in the middle of the field to just basically not being there the week later.
Yeah.
And it's happened a couple of times now.
I'm starting to think we treat them as a bottom team, and when they beat you, you just go, oh, well, they got us this week.
Well, Sharks never beat them, so they'll probably beat them this week.
Yeah, that's true. Like I said, we can wrap. Let's wrap Payne Haas. We've done that. Let's wrap Carrigan. We've done that. Let's wrap the rest. So, which way are you giving 3? Reece Walsh 3 points.
Yep, I gave Cobbo the 2 for the hat trick.
1 for Haas.
Carrigan, Haas, either way.
Yeah, well, give it to Carrigan. Actually, he was good.
Yeah, Carrigan was very good.
But Payne Haas, honourable mention as always. Bit rough, running 217 meters and getting a point. The Saturday kicked off 18-6. Panthers over the Warriors.
This was a physical game. I think this was probably the most physical game of the weekend.
Yeah, 10 minutes in this game, both teams decided they're just going to inflict murder on each other for about half an hour and proceeded to do so for our enjoyment. But what does the stats say? 1
try to 3, 1 out of 1 conversions played 2 out of 3, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for Penrith, a missed 2-point field goal attempt, 2 sin bin against the Warriors, 85% completion from both teams, 437 plus running meters and 143 plus post contact meters. Penrith, I'm pretty sure, was it? I didn't write that down. I normally do. 6 line breaks to 8.
Post contact meters, 414 plays 557.
Yeah, so it was to Penrith. Yeah. 47 tackle busts to 59. It's concerning. Both teams missing 45 plus tackles. But it was very physical, and they were exhausted by the end of the game, so it might have something to do with it. 11 offloads to 15, two forced dropouts to 3, 371 tackles played, 356, 7 errors to 8, 5 penalties conceded to 3, 4 ruck infringements against the Warriors, 1 against Penrith. Edwards with 122 Supercoach points, Cleary with 120, Paul Harris with 96.
Probably in that order is the way I would rank them 3, 2, 1, 2. But this was, as we said, physical game. I don't want to say it was flattering to Penrith, but I do think the difference in this game were Tuo and Edwards. The mountain of work they did at the back, and Edwards is now adding all season. He's adding nice touches to his game, with throwing in some try assists and popping at the right moment. It's something he never really was a prolific try scorer, but in the last 18 months, definitely is. So maybe
he's
even
added to his
6
assists
months.
too. I think he's probably assisting a little bit more than he used to as well.
So I thought he was outstanding, both sides of the ball, and actually probably the difference in this game, let alone the work Tuo did. It was the old Bizza here, burrowing and getting through awesome. And getting into this game, the best we've probably seen it in this year.
He got really physical with him too. I don't know if that's something to do with enjoyed getting into against the New Zealand blood fellas or what it was, but he seemed really fired up in this game, and Critter got in there as well. Got absolutely poleaxed and gave Dylan Walker a headache for about half an hour, I reckon. Didn't even hit him in the head, but he would have been sore boy for a while.
Yep. And he copped. It was a good tussle between those two.
Yeah, absolutely, it was. I think it was Cossey that got.
That
got Critter.
It was because he left the field not long after, so he didn't really
knock himself out, making a tackle.
Yeah.
Penrith were tough and committed, and so were the Warriors. I'd like to see the Warriors play a little bit deeper in attack, to be honest. I think they may have unlocked Penrith once or twice here if they'd given themselves a little bit of extra room. I thought they're playing a little bit too flat, especially with the likes of Toto and Critter flying out of the line and taking the time away from their centres. And I think if they got that a fraction deeper, they may have caused a few more problems for for Penrith. But other than that, I'd like to probably give Sean Johnson a few more options when he does cut back into the middle of the field. There wasn't really a lot of blokes going with him. When you did see him open them up right at the back end of the game there, and there was nobody there. If there'd been a person next to him, they score. And
Jackson Ford very close. Was off the field, I think, for the last half hour, so it didn't help.
That's where your fullback should be, or your hooker, or someone should be trailing through with him in that kind of situation. But they continued to work really hard, but Penrith just worked harder for that little bit longer. Warriors sort of died off for a 5-10 minute period in the first half, and again towards the back end of the second half, and that seems to be when Penrith sort of just kept the pressure up and seemed to break them. Penrith did bomb 2 or 3 tries as well. Like this could have been a bit more of a comfortable score, realistically. I think Taruva put 2 down with the line open. They weren't great passes, to be fair to Taruva, but there was probably at least 2, maybe 3 bomb tries by Penrith that they could have extended the score out. Again, the Warriors just seem to make the errors at the really wrong times when they are putting pressure on. Something just seems to snap and they make a mistake. But they were good. They would have probably beaten half the comp, if not more, playing this style of footy. Probably most of the comp, realistically. But they just got done by a better team. Penrith were back to being that bit more clinical than they have been for the rest of the season. They've still got a bit to work on with their attack.
It still feels disjointed. Luai tried hard, but that's as good as I can say. He's still,
probably Luai's best game of the season.
Yeah, he took the line on, got involved. Like there weren't too many results from it, but he definitely had a crack, more than we've seen. As you said, I would have liked to see him trying to isolate some of those big backs on Peachy and Taruva, and we didn't really see. I was just looking now. Peachy missed 5 tackles, but he did make a couple of very important ones. But
I think that was because they were that little bit too flat, to be honest. If they were that bit deeper and had that fraction more time to run on.
Yeah, we've seen how damaging they can be once they get their tails up, and we didn't see that. They've now, what have they got? They've now scored. We've now gone 160 minutes for 2 tries with the Warriors, so they do need to maybe look at a couple of things, but the defense has kept them in the game on both occasions. Only a bloke we haven't mentioned, Fanua Blake, having his usual fantastic season.
You
Missed him
put
for first try
$3 on
score
him
again.
first try score in the last 3 weeks, you'd have $102.
I know.
I did get him this week, thankfully.
I changed to old Wade just before kickoff, but anyway. 3 points to Dylan Edwards.
Absolutely.
2 points to Bezer. 1 to Tohu, or you want to give 1 to Cleary?
Yeah, I had Cleary and Sean Johnson in and around the points, but probably underrated. I didn't even have Tohu in there, so he's coming in for 2. And then I had
actually,
Harris.
neither did I. I've only just thinking about this now.
Yeah,
I thought
Harris,
we didn't really touch on Tohu that much, but 48 tackles, a try. He set up the try. Beautiful ball to put the little bloke through the hole, and all his usual.
Absolutely worked his backside out as he always does.
So let's
probably the only bloke who's left the Storm and been as good, if not better, since he left the Storm. He's actually grown and been. He's a leader of that forward pack. You can see they look to him every time they need something to happen, and he jumps in there, and he's been as good, if not better, minus a couple of injuries since when he left the Storm.
And just quickly, we didn't wrap him. Yo was good, and Fish got through enough in his first game back.
Fish was a big positive influence. Wasn't dominant, but you could tell that they're very happy to have the bloke out there. Whenever the tough carries were needed, he was the one who wanted it. And Yo was sort of in and out with that link play again. That worked probably 3/4 of the time, but there was a couple of little rusty spots in there again. But he's another one who just tackles like his life depends on it, to be honest. Doesn't miss them, just perhaps bloke it up every time they come near him.
And we've spoken about him lots and what a loss he's going to be, but another game when the game's still in the balance, Spencer Leniu just put his head down and just said, no worries, I'll fucking bowl 4 blokes over. And
off the long run, just stormed through 3 blokes on the trial line.
The minute he got the ball with his team, you knew where it was
happening.
It
was that dead set bowling ball style too, where you hit 3 of them and they all sort of bounce off each other and end up all over the place. It was fantastic. I love him when he does.
Brilliant match-winning try, and as I said, probably you can add that to the list of games he's dragged Penrith home in when they've been out, and
he's been the one that they've been looking to while Fish has been out recently.
Yeah, for sure.
Says something about a young fella coming through.
3 to Edwards, 2 to I'm going to give it to Tohu because fuck it, and
Well then, Bizza has to get the 1.
Yeah, give it to Biz.
With honourable mentions for the 2 halfbacks.
Yeah, they did their job. Would you like a break before you talk about this game, or you've read up ready to
go? No, I've shed my tears.
All right, 36-16. The Dolphins came out with an absolute attacking clinic against what was not a defensive clinic for big parts there. And it's something we've seen at times from the Sharks barn, but what do the stats say?
They didn't statistically weren't as bad as they have been at the start of this year. The Dolphins were absolutely pumped up. 3 tries to 6, 2 out of 3 conversions, played 6 out of 6. A missed field goal attempt from the Dolphins, 66% completion from the Sharks, 85% from the Dolphins. 160 plus running meters for the Sharks, 9 line breaks to 6, 24 tackle busts to 33, 8 offloads to 11, 1 forced dropout for Cronulla, 356 tackles played, 321, 13 errors to 7, 3 penalties conceded to 3, 1 ruck infringement from both teams, 1 inside the 10 from both teams. Talakai with 106 Supercoach points, Wilton with 102, Vance Tawahi with 94.
And I think Ewan Aiken got 60 or 70 and only played half a game.
Played 40 minutes, yeah. He was on absolute fire at the start of this game.
He would have, I'm tipping if he stays on the field, he gets 3 points, put it that way. But he was outstanding
really
in this game.
Giving Ramey and all sorts of troubles at the start of this game.
I expect, first of all, I'll eat my humble pie. I expected this to be the other way around in exactly what happened, just the other side of the
Roll
field.
Through the middle.
And it was the opposite of what we saw. The Dolphins marched upfield, spread the ball to their outside backs, and their outside backs made a lot of the Sharks' defense look average. Footwork from Aitken, footwork from Tessie New, and the new cold hero, Valance Tawari, who and probably rightfully so, it does look like he's a debut. Remember, good on him and great scenes, but he's definitely trimmed down from when we saw him in the trial game. He's lost a lot of weight, and I assume Wayne's been into him. But big
Hard
boy
to
that's
stop with the
happy
ball in his hand.
yeah, hard to stop. Big boy, and took plenty of blokes with him for a couple of tries.
I'm surprised they didn't target him more. I know Talakai did have some joy against him, and realistically, I would have just shut down the other side of the field and kept coming at him
Yeah.
because they were getting around him at will at different points.
Well, I
but,
thought that was
doesn't
exactly
help
what was
when you
going to happen.
consistently drop the ball.
Yeah.
And the fact that for whatever reason Hines didn't want to be on that side of the field in this one. Spoke about it last week, how he's a constant threat, popping around, bouncing around the field and being on both sides of the field. He stuck to the right-hand side in this game and didn't move realistically out of that position for the whole game and just left Moylan over on the left to run that left-hand side. And they were causing problems over there, so it really surprised me he didn't go over there and get involved in it. But, yeah, realistically, the first two tries were just one-on-one misses. It was Royce Hunt just being lazy at marker, and Jeremy Marshall-King strolls through the middle and sets up the try. And then again, Ramey in one-on-one miss against Aiken, and they run down that left-hand side. They're now behind by 10 or 12 points after 10 or 12 minutes, and they just dropped the head. Didn't seem to want to get back into the fight. And experienced pack from the Dolphins really took over and showed what needed to be done. And they rolled up their sleeves and were really physical with their smaller Sharks pack in the middle. And they give it to them in the middle of the field. Sharks didn't really get back on even footing until probably McGuinness came on, and he did really get back in there and start the fight up in the middle of the field. Still, they never got in front in the middle. They never dominated that battle. All they did at best was break even, and that was sort of just either side of half time. Sharks realistically probably had the better of the possession and ball position in the second half, and you would expect them to score more points than they did at the back end of this game. There was a lot of opportunities, and they just didn't seem to be able to cash in on them. So, I was really impressed with Katoa. He's been fantastic the last 2 weeks in a row. He's shown a lot of composure for a young fella. His kicking game's getting better, and just his general knowledge of getting the team around and setting up the team to be in the right position on the field. He's really warming into that 7 position, which is a bit of a shame because obviously Sullivan comes back and plays 7 straight away. To me, he looks more like a 7 than he does a 6.
Yeah.
I know he does have a pretty decent running game, but to me, he does seem like the guy who wants to take control and have the team leading the team around the field. So it just seems to suit him better for whatever reason. And Nicarima is doing a really good job as his right-hand man at the moment.
Well, he's one of the he's one of the form running halves in the comp.
Yeah,
at the moment. He's not afraid to take the line on. He usually beats a bloke, or
dipping on the outside of people.
Either you get the rounds him, or he gets there and he's able to pop a ball left or right and finds people more often than not. He's been absolutely outstanding the last 2 weeks.
He has.
So,
best I think we've seen him play for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
It's almost like that.
Sharks just seem like they need a loss every game to get up and have another. Like they're one of those teams at the moment. They seem to have a win, and then next week they just turn up expecting to win. Oh, we'll just throw it to our outside backs and score more points, and then they get flogged through the middle of the field and drop the ball every second set. And they're a hard team to get a read on.
We've said it for a while. Realistically, they'd really
still
love
a big
it.
man short, in my opinion.
I was literally about to say, wouldn't you have loved to have picked up, say, a Clemmer or
Marty Power, just even as a bench,
someone like that, just get you
that little bit of extra punch with ball in hand through the middle of the field. Yeah. They're okay defensively most of the time in the middle. It's just they lack that really good post contact meter guy in the middle.
Yeah,
I know McGuinness can do it, and Ueli when he's there is occasionally decent at it, but nobody else. They are missing Rudolph at the moment as well, which they're really depleted on their big men.
Yeah, and probably it wouldn't be disadvantageous to try just play Finucane at a prop. And
you saw when Hazleton came on, I thought he was one of their better players.
Yeah,
he was actually getting really good post contact meters and getting a bit of a roll on in the middle of the field. Yeah, so they need another bloke like him out there at different times.
Like you've been a fan of for a while, Lemueli. He keeps getting better and better.
How good was he? He's really settling into that pattern of being a destructive ball runner on that left edge for the Titans, and they've gained a trust in him now too. So they're going to him constantly, and he's starting to work a lot more in defence too. I noticed at the start of the year he's a bit lazy in and around around his halves, and there was a few problems where they were consistently targeting targeting him and his half partner and sort of breaking the line open. He's really starting to double down, making 2 and 3 tackles in a set, as well as working on the other side of the ball as well. So, yeah, Lemuelu has been fantastic the last 3 weeks as well. So this just seems like there's a couple of them that are all really putting in really good shifts the last 3 weeks.
Well, it's almost like the bloke who's coached 900 games has half a clue.
Yeah, I think that had a big deal to the way they started, to be honest, considering how poorly they've started the last 2 weeks in a row. I think they were on a mission to make sure that they at least started this game well.
Scoreboard aside, but 10 minutes this game, I was kicking myself with the Magic Round, Dolphins at home, Bennett, blah blah blah. It was set up again.
Queensland.
Yeah.
Didn't read the tea leaves, eh?
No, we did not. But wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be the last.
Absolutely not.
It's actually at the stage where I struggle to see how the Dolphins miss a top 8 spot. There you go.
Starting to look more like that, isn't it?
Obviously, winning helps. So, and they keep doing it. So,
but just on the back of they've mentioned both the Bromwich boys. One of them was out for this game as well. You got Kafusi in there. Lemuelu is really finding a position in there, and then you got a couple other forwards that just you've got Gilbert in there as well, who was a raging lunatic for 45 minutes of this game, especially the first 35 or so. He was just into everything, screaming at everyone, trying to get in and get physical, and he was fantastic. But the Dolphins are really buzzing for that first bit. As I said, I thought Hazelham was okay. Williams was okay off the bench as well, but McGuinness was there really was really the shining light for the Sharks coming off the bench. He was probably their best or close enough to it. Fraley put in a good shift again, as did Mulatalo. Cora and Wilton just keep doing, they keep turning up every week. They had a good crack, but the rest of the middles really got dominated. Kafusi, Lemuelu, and Gilbert were fantastic. You got Wallace and SASA coming off the bench as well. That's an elite pack if you go and have a real.
And you throw and when you talk about raging lunatics, you throw Ray Stone back in there next week, and he's someone else that's going to make 30 tackles and shout at people and get people up and going. So
and you got Wallace and SASA coming off the bench. They are a really good pack coming through. I mentioned Katoa and how calm I thought he was, and how he was fantastic for this side. And Jeremy Marshall-King was brilliant again.
Yep.
He's going close to being the best hooker in the game.
Well, I was thinking this just while I was setting up. He's now surely first choice Kiwi hooker. When they get to that stage, it's almost a no-brainer to pick him. Smith has been
incumbency with Cheese, but no, it's definitely needs a spot in that team.
Yeah, he'll be there. Well, I suppose he was during the World Cup, so I suppose he'll be there again. But
man of the match in my opinion in this game.
I'm happy with that. I
worked really hard on both sides of the ball and created some opportunities that I think most of the other dummy halves in the game probably don't create.
Yep. What a meteoric rise it's been, because it's only happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah, back half of last year at the Dogs, he was very good, and he's gotten even better since he's gone up there.
Just like the pennies dropped. 2 points.
I am a decent footballer.
2 points.
I had Lemuelu points, but when you get double again, well, at least got one try. Made up near 40 tackles and a whole heap of hit ups. I thought he was fantastic. And
that's cool.
Yeah. Well, you give Valence a point. Nicarima.
I'll give Nicarima before
Gilbert.
him, or Talakai. Talakai was really
good.
In fact, he was probably your only point of attack for a lot of the game. So
yeah, he was, and he was doing the grunt work in the middle.
But they got lapped, so stuff it. Give it Nicarima.
Yeah, give it to Nicarima.
Yeah. Say that. Main event Saturday. The Bunnies 28 put away another one of their hoodoo teams. The Storm 12. So the Bunnies are now red hot, and they've disposed of Penrith and the Storm, who have been their hoodoo team for the last 3, 4, 5 years, really.
I think they've beaten them 6 times since they've existed, or something like that.
So I think it was 6 from 30 or something preposterous. So
would have felt good to get the win in this one.
So it all helps for the confidence, but they were very impressive here, Barn.
Yeah, absolutely. They were 2 tries to 5, 2 out of 2 conversions, played 4 out of 5. A missed penalty attempt for South Sydney. 80% completion, played 76% for South. 154 plus running meters, 1 line break to 5, 31 tackle bust to 24, 5 offloads to 4, 3 3 forced dropouts to 2, 357 tackles played, 287, 10 errors from the Storm, 11 from the Bunnies, 6 penalties conceded to 3, 3 ruck infringements to 0, 1 inside the 10 to 2. Supercoach points, we had Walker with 86, Alex Johnson with 76, Munster with 71. What do you say? Souths looked well in control of this match, and even probably slowed down a little bit with 10 minutes to go in both halves of footy. But they never really seemed to be pressured or threatened by the Storm. Storm realistically just seemed to be scrambling for the entirety of the match, like trying to stop South Sydney from scoring tries for most of this game. Neither of the teams were at their absolute best, but Souths were comfortably the stronger side. As you mentioned, forward battle was pretty close most of the game. Souths were slightly in front, and when it went to the interchange, they just went that little bit further in front, realistically.
Oh, Tom Burgess, despite his poor life choices with what's going on top of his head, he was outstanding when he came on. As you said, he really rubber stamped as a difference when you got him coming on and doing what he does, and compared to having the delicious garlic penne combination coming on later in the game.
They weren't even that bad, to be honest. And you could throw Eisenhuth in there as well. I thought they were okay off the bench, but yeah, Souths were just better. Those 3 off the bench mentioned did plenty of work, and Naz was very good, as was Jeremy Marshall-King and Liero. But there was another couple that I didn't name there that weren't so flash for the Storm side in this one.
2 that aren't with us this year at all. Xavier Coates. Can you remember doing anything this year? I can't.
Not particularly, no.
And Jerome Hughes looked terribly out of form. I don't think he's had a decent game this year.
And Elisa Katoa, considering how well he started the year, his last 2 performances been pretty underwhelming, realistically.
Yeah, Penne looked much better than him, actually. He had some nice runs towards it, but it was towards
and
the back
Garlic
end.
looks like something. I don't know. He could be a 14 for someone going forward. Play a bit of hooker, probably chuck him in the centres if you had to. Bit of back row, but he's definitely someone who probably deserves a full-time 14 position somewhere. Whether it's at the Storm, I don't know. I thought Olam was okay as well. Meaney and Smith were probably the best of the back 5, and Munster was their best player.
Yeah.
And Grant was decent again without being overly fantastic, but he always does a job. You mentioned Burgess. I thought he was fantastic off the bench as well as Knight. Arrow and Host were fantastic as well as Cook. Trell and Walker were just their attacking conductors. Like every time the ball got anywhere near them, you were like, okay, where are they setting up here? Are they going to the centre? Are they going to come back in field? Are they going to hit an edge? And yeah, that basically, as I said, the Storm spent most of the game trying to erect that fence to keep the Rabbits out. So they were good. They were fantastic.
Well, I think they played left in this game.
They did.
So Campbell Graham didn't really get much of a say, which that's fine. But clear plan to turn around those at the Melbourne edges there, Warbrick, the slower blokes out wide, and 2 perfect grubbers. Latrell's first one was magic, and then
how good was that?
Cody followed up himself. So
he went to pass it, and they've charged out of the line. He just went, I'll just kick it in behind where that bloke came from.
Put it through any better. He was just outstanding again, Latrell. I don't know. I'm biased because I love him, and it annoys me people don't love him because I think he's just outstanding and he's great for the game.
Yeah.
And it was great to see him put on a show there. And Cody Walker, ever since I, gave him again, what's that now, 6 weeks in a row since I asked for his head, he's been better and better and better. And this was probably the best of a good season for him. He's in absolute red hot form.
Absolutely, yes.
And as I've said, he's got there's no one better with space, and when he's got space, he uses it so well. And it brought the old firm Tass and Johnston back into the game, and they lived up to their end of the bargain. Tass was great, actually. We've touched on it a few times, but with White and hanging over him, he's a good player there. Tass, he'll find a spot somewhere else as a full-time centre if it's not here.
Oh, he'd be a marquee target, I'd imagine, for some of the other sides that are looking for a centre. if he is pushed out of the club. But ever since Whiten was even thought of, he's been fantastic week after week. Tass. I'd Walker as man of the match, Trell with the 2, even though he was sort of limited towards his involvement at the back end of the game. But what he did was fantastic. And then I had either Arrow, AJ, or Munster for the 1.
AJ. Oh yeah, AJ. That's right. He scored 2 tries. Sorry, it took me a sec.
You can throw. I think Grant made 50 odd tackles.
I'll give it to AJ. 200 games, a double. Did a fair bit. Probably could have had more. Did a fair bit of work. But I agree. Yeah, I agree. 3 and 2 were picked themselves, I think. And I think you rubber stamp. I think they've come into favourites now, and right now they're rightfully so.
Are.
Rightfully so, because they're going to be very hard to beat, barring injury or complete mishap, I think.
Yeah, I've got a completely balanced squad from 1 all the way through to 17, realistically. And most of them are doing a job at the moment.
And they're probably the only squad executing at their best.
Close enough to it. I think they've still got another gear to go, to be honest.
I do too. Yeah. They've found the size they lacked a couple of years ago, and everyone just knows their role so well. So, and we haven't really seen.
We've still got Keon missing. I think Kulimatungi's not there at the moment.
Yep.
Sele and those guys are only just coming back into the fold as well. So,
Havili as well. He's got some size if they need him. So, yeah, exciting times if you're a Roosters fan. Rabbitohs fan. Not exciting times if you're a Roosters fan.
No.
We've got a couple of stops to get, just one stop to get to before we get to that. And that's 18-16. The Tigers 2 in a row over the Dragons in a game where at times they tried to out-dumb shit each other. But what did the stats say?
Never change your tip last minute, which is what I did in this game.
Did you really?
I did.
What inspired you?
Worked well.
Why? Just out of interest, not bagging.
I just thought that Sloan and Sully, to be honest, who went out of their way to fuck it up in the last minute of the game as well. But I just thought they may have had a couple more tries in them than what the Tigers did.
Yep, fair enough.
And yeah, they realistically probably could have and should have won this game, but the Tigers could have and should have won by more as well. So
yeah,
it's as you said, they did seem to go out of their way to see who would fuck it up worse than the other team. They had 3 tries apiece, 2 out of 3 conversions, played 2 out of 3 conversions, 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for the Tigers, and a missed 2-point field goal attempt. 86% completion for the Tigers and 72% for the Dragons. 4 line breaks to 3, 43 tackle busts to 39, 9 offloads to 7, 2 forced dropouts to 1, 40-20 for the Tigers, 328 tackles played, 379, 10 errors to 13, 5 penalties conceded to 8, 2 ruck infringements against the Dragons, 1 inside the 10 against the Tigers. Some better play from both teams than what they've displayed throughout big chunks of this year. But there were, again, way too many errors, and at crucial times, again, for the Dragons, they just seem to, when they make a mistake, it's right when they possibly, the worst possible time to make a mistake, they make a mistake.
But it's not, it's weird because the Dragons, they do a whole bunch of nothing for sets and sets and sets, and then they try something and they fuck it up at the first time. So I don't know if it's, paralysis out of fear or whether it's just that's who they are. But it's like on another day, Sully should have scored 4 tries in this game. They did, and it says something for the scramble, but the execution was average. But there is 0 point of attack here in this team at the moment, bar Jaden Sullivan, who hasn't been playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've cut you off, so you keep going in.
No, you're right. Both teams just completely switched off their brains at different times in defence and attack, realistically, and made this game entertaining for both good and bad reasons. There was some nice footy, but I also kept watching because I wanted to see who would make the biggest fuck up by the end of the game and cost themselves the game. And yeah, it probably was Sully with a minute and a half left. You could probably blame Sloan for that realistically when they had a 3-on-2 and
they could have done it.
Gone and thrown a cutout pass way too early and allowed the Tigers to slide across. Sully cuts back in, really should have tried to run over the top of the fullback, but then flops it out the back. And who's the young fella that's there to save the try in the corner? It's the fullback. That young bloke has got first grader written all over him and potential superstar realistically down the track. So I wonder how long before you sell him to somebody else. That'll be interesting to
Well,
see.
they did. The thing is, they have done something smart. They extended his contract before they debuted him.
Before they debuted him.
They
That's a
extended,
start.
which suggests they obviously aren't idiots. Tim
Mm-hmm.
Sheens obviously has an eye for what's going on, but the mail was. Well, let's talk about it because last 2 weeks. So when you're a Tigers fan, you're expecting something dumb to happen at some point to cost you the game, uh, or at least lead to the end and then fuck up, which is what happened. So last week it happened in the Penrith game, and it was Buller making a match-saving tackle on Cleary,
Mm-hmm.
prime the game, and here. Same again. Last second, he's running across. He was in all three tackles in that
Yep,
last play.
he was.
He chopped down he chopped down Hunt, chopped down Sully, and then ran across or didn't chop him down, but it was in there, and then made the hit on Ravalawa.
He was the
And
man in front of the
so
ball
was
against Ravalawa.
and so was and was a man front. So was Papai as well.
And he hit the arm and hit the ball and
Yeah,
made sure it wasn't going to go over the line. He's fantastic, and the amount of effort he puts in for a fullback. I know he's a bigger fullback than a lot of them running around, but he is not afraid of the physical. He seems to relish the physical
yeah,
contact. To be honest,
and
he
they
loves running the ball back, and
yeah,
he gets right involved in the physical stuff.
they yeah, exciting. Like I said, that Tigers don't win either of these games if he's not on the field. They've now won 2 or 3 with him there, and he was fantastic in the game they lost against Manly. Uh, safe as houses. They just haven't had someone like that,
Seems to be
the pace and that can diffuse most situations since Tedesco, really.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Again. Tigers were statistically the better side, but struggled to get some points. Probably should have pressed their advantage and won by more. Hunt to 9 was okay, but only because of what Sullivan did realistically. Um, it seemed to hurt their attack, apart from the 2 times Sullivan decided to carve them
creepy,
apart with his footwork
creepy little
and his
bastard he is.
acceleration.
Yeah,
He's quick off the mark, and he's got a good step on him. Which, he would have beaten a lot of teams to score at
yeah,
least
both
one of
tries.
those,
Yeah,
probably both of those tries. So
yeah,
you can't he'd be too detrimental on the Tigers there. He absolutely stood up Papa Lee both times, but he was completely lost. I don't think he touched him the first time and just got a hand on him the second time. So, yeah, beautiful individual efforts there from Sullivan. Although Josh Kerr again was really good off the bench. Like, he doesn't break open the line and cause all sorts of havoc, but he just continually works and he's doing some good stuff for them. Molo was good. Michael, not the headhunter who we haven't seen for a while. Sullivan was awesome. Laurie and Bird were good again, as was Sewer. And Sully and Rava were decent, but again, as you said, they bombed a couple of tries there and caused themselves some problems. Jack DeBellum was the Dragons' best by far. He's just gone back into that mode of making 50, 60 tackles, and if he could really pick up the attacking side of his game, he'd be back close to his best. But his attacking side of the football is still down a little bit, but his defence has been tremendous for this Dragons team. Opengari was back to near one of his better performances.
yeah.
Pole was decent again. Clemmer and Papa Lee were very good ball in hand. They've got their issues in defence, but they're massive human beings that don't move sideways fantastically. So you can sort of give them that sometimes.
That being said, I don't think Clemmer's in the twile category of not missing too many tackles.
Yeah, he doesn't miss
He
too
didn't
many.
miss
No.
any. He didn't miss any this game officially.
Yeah, okay.
And
Just
Twile made
might not
44
have
and
got
missed
to
one.
one or two.
Yeah,
But,
you forgive it when he's making 180 meters.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
Sullivan was fantastic. I thought Wakeham was really good for the Tigers, and so was Brooks. They were
they
both
both
really
played
good.
pretty well.
Yeah, we mentioned Bula. He was brilliant, and Nofaluma was close to his best that he's been for a long time. That try where he cut back in and burrowed in between three of them to score was really influential in this game.
That was Tupou.
Realistically,
That was Tupou.
I know, out on the right edge, he cut back in and
Oh, he scored off the scrum.
barged through two of them. I think
Yeah,
he scored one of the first ones.
yep, he did.
Yeah,
But Tupou on the other side got out of that
yeah.
corner and beat
Also,
four
same
blokes
thing.
back to the
Yeah.
inside. He was good too. Hasn't had a lot of ball last few weeks, but
He just sort of stopped on his run, and two of them ran past
yeah,
him.
and cut
And he
across. Yeah,
cuts back in and
but
bumps
I
the other
agree.
two
No
off
Fulham.
to
Look,
score.
I've been critical of him as I have a lot of him, and his last 2 games since he's come back, he's put in. it looks like he's getting towards some of his form from a couple of years ago.
Where did you go with points? I didn't really know where to go.
I went to Ball. I just thought we don't win the game without Baller. He had a try assist. He hasn't. We haven't end of line break assist, but he hasn't had a lot of clear air just yet. He's getting there. He'll bust through a hole soon off Appy or someone there. I went Sullivan too because they don't get on the board without him. And and I thought Wakeham was really good. Not giving points, but just on that, again though, classic Tigers can't find touch off a penalty. They next 2 touches later they score. It's what they do best. But Clemmer won for me.
I had Nofaluma or Jack DeBellin for the one.
Okay.
I think Jack DeBellin made near 60 tackles.
Well, would you have given Sullivan any, or are you thinking?
Yeah, I had Sullivan with the 2.
Okay.
I was even thinking of Nofaluma with the 3, but realistically, he wasn't overly apart from the 2. He had 2 really good involvements.
Nofa and Clemmer were the 2 I thought. You're right. Nofa was very good. Go
Jerome Sullivan.
Three Nofa.
3 Nofa, yeah. Give Buller the 1 there.
2 Sullivan, 1 Buller.
Yeah.
Probably hard done by, but that's fine. We get to Cowboys 20. Where'd this come from? Roosters 6, Magic Round. Torrential rain hit for about 15 minutes before the game, or during the first 15 minutes. But it must be said, the Roosters were very, very average in this. And the Cowboys, I don't know if they looked like they did last year, but they were pretty good.
The Roosters' attack's been horrible for most of the year, to be honest. 1 try to 3, 1 out of 1 conversions, played 3 out of 3 Cowboys, 1 out of 1 penalty attempt, and a missed field goal for the Cowboys. 68% completion, played 78%, 5 line breaks from the Roosters, and 1 for the Cowboys. Interesting. 39 tackle busts, played 40, 9 offloads to 8, 4 forced dropouts to 2, 361 tackles made by the Roosters, 327 made by the Cowboys. Here's a big one. 18 errors for the Roosters, played 11 for the Cowboys. 3 penalties conceded to 5, 5 ruck infringements against the Cowboys, 1 inside the 10 against the Roosters. Ruben Cotter with 90 Supercoach points, Crichton with 87, Manu with 86. The Cowboys close to what they were producing last year. They finally turned up and played with some speed and composure with the ball in hand. Townsend's best game for close to 12 months. They actually got in there and put in, that leg speed in defence and attack. They were getting up in the face of the Roosters. They had some desire in defence, and they were just consistently turning up with some physicality up against the Roosters, who seemed shocked that came, to be honest. They really didn't. I don't think they saw this kind of effort coming out of the Cowboys, and I don't think most of the people who watch NRL were expecting this to come out of the Cowboys realistically. But it was, something we haven't seen from them this year, and it's their blueprint to what they did last year. They need to do it. It just shows that they can be good if they bring those effort areas which they haven't brought for quite some time. The Roosters just seemed on the back foot, especially after that first sort of onslaught from the Cowboys, and every time they tried to get going, it was like they were stuck in the mud. Their wheels were spinning. They were just sitting there doing donuts in the middle of the field and going nowhere. Like, they could not gain any momentum, especially in the middle of the field. And the wet weather didn't really help either side in attack. See all the water sitting in those divots in the first 20 minutes of the game. Fuck, they must have had some water hit that ground in that half an hour before it started. But all the divots were full of water. The Cowboys probably did get a bit of luck and probably got most of the bounce of the ball realistically as well in this game, which did help them. But they were much more enthusiastic than the Roosters. The Roosters seem uninterested, to be honest.
You sum up this game exactly with that sentence, because Cowboys had all the energy in the world and are up and about, and the Roosters didn't.
Teddy was really the only one that was any good in the back 5. Collins and that Butcher were pretty good in the middle, but other than that, there was really nothing going on. Manu tried hard. Kiri always tries hard, but what he produces is hit and miss. And I thought Billy Smith was good in his return. He was pretty strong out there, dropped 1 or 2, but other than that, was pretty good. And Angus was back to sort of close to his better form without being dynamic.
Yeah, he played well. As did Tupanoa. He probably looked dangerous in the limited time he had.
He put a couple of nice shots on.
And
Yeah, limited minutes again.
I know he's coming back from 18 months off, whatever it is, or a long time off.
But I think he even
ACL.
had half the time he played last week.
Yeah, but they're fun. I they just don't look good. The Roosters, like their points last week came off. One was a single solo effort from Tupanua, and was it the ricochet for Butcher or crash play for Butcher? One of them. And that was it. And today in this game they looked
grubber
like,
or a crash play.
Was it grabber? Yeah, anyway, it was like similar here. Like I don't know where their attack actually is. Like it's not like they're not playing Brandon Smith style of footy. They're not playing. Like I don't know what their attack is supposed to be. It's almost like, well, if Teddy doesn't invent something, hopefully Joey does. Otherwise, we'll stand around for a bit or hide or get to a corner. They don't have. I know they've got some injuries, but they're missing someone to get. They don't have a big back to get them out of trouble from their end. With Tupou out, Paulo tries hard, and Billy Smith ran for a bit, but they don't have like.
So Ali's not interested.
Well, this is where I'm heading as well. He doesn't do anything defensively wrong. He's fine, but is he not interested, or is that just who he is?
Doesn't seem interested. He was much more involved 3 weeks, a month ago, before he announced that he was going to rugby.
Yeah,
he was at least having a crack with bringing the ball back out of his back end.
It's funny because the news reported today that Roosters are looking now to offload him now, rather than wait 2 years. And generally, when this stuff comes out of the Roosters, it's not too far from the mark. Over the years, when they've said they're trying to offload Flanagan, he wasn't far gone. We've seen it all the way through. They get rid of people very quick. I wonder if he's shown the door sooner rather than later. Despite what's been said. Anyway, that all being said, how do you fix it? Is their best chance to just try and get Crichton and Tupanua back into the starting side and start over, try and get some forwards with footwork and get something more exciting happen? Where do we go here with the Roosters? Or do we just go, well,
I don't know, but does that mean the Butchers go back to the bench? Collins and Jared have been doing a decent job in the middle of the field, but to me, that means one of the Butchers probably has to go out of the side, maybe, because you're going to need Lodge in the middle, and you probably want a 14 with the way that their attack's spluttering at the moment. Someone who can come on and add a bit of spark and in and around the attack. So
do you bring Sam Walker back at 14?
Disrupts your balance a bit. But at the moment, with the way their attack's going, yeah, I would be.
At least he
they
tries
realistically,
something.
To me, don't seem like they have many attacking options, and Teddy's not getting involved at the moment either.
No, and Teddy's not even doing, like, when they're at their best,
through lack of trying, that's just through lack of opportunities.
Yeah, because when they're at their absolute best, Teddy's grubbering and Teddy's kicking crossfield, and he's doing his own stuff close on. He's not he's not involved either. Manu, we haven't seen, they've got 4 great spine players, but they don't play.
He's straightened their attack up, but he's not breaking it open.
No. But, I don't know.
No, absolutely they don't. And that's been their problem for a long time now, is
make it 5 and you throw Radley, and he's not really
the spine playing together.
Enough for anyone.
Yeah, they're realistic. They want to dry track. They really want to be on the front foot through their forwards, to be able to get their outside backs involved. But they're not, even when they're on the back foot, they don't seem to be going looking to try and set up anything else wide. There's no people laying down different angles and providing different options for their halves, which takes away a whole heap of opportunities once you get the ball out past your back rowers. I thought Cohen Hess was very good in this game as well. Robson was very strong again. He is most weeks. Bell and Drinkwater were okay. Added a bit towards the back end of the game, and as I mentioned, I thought it was Townsend's close to his best game since last year. Ruben Cotter was in beast mode again, and since he's come back from his injuries, I think he's been their best player week in and week out for 3 weeks now.
Yeah, he felt like he got to go and did, and some of his running was fantastic. All right, technical difficulties have been resolved. We've got Barney back here. We're just saying that, ultimately, Cotter's sort of for the Cowboys. Just finishing this before because I've completely forgot my train of thought. Cowboys are an energy team, and Cotter is, I guess, their mascot for that. And when he's playing well, I guess he drags them with him. So yeah, when I think of Cowboys, you think their defense and their energy, and we got that in this game. So good.
Even when
for
they've
them.
been poor, he's been good. He's been fantastic, even when they haven't been great. Um, can't really put in anything against Cotter.
No,
Yeah, replaced the hamster out of the hamster out of my hamster wheel for my internet connection, and we're back and going. So I had Cotter as my best player on the field. I thought he was hands down the best player on the field. Then I had Robson in as the second best player. I thought he was opening up a lot of things for the Cowboys through the middle of the field. And then you could probably look at someone like Angus Crichton, or if you wanted to go for Roosters, but they were pretty well handled, I thought. So maybe Townsend or Drinkwater.
give it to Townsend because he's not had a great start to the year. Honorary mention Teddy and Crichton would have been the only two you'd even consider, I'd suggest, from the Roosters. And we wrapped up. Suggested it would be last try wins. It wasn't quite, but it was pretty close. 26-24. Titans and the Eels.
Did you listen to? Did you watch it on Fox?
Yes.
What about Vossi and his magic number 26? Didn't he fucking hammer that for the entirety of the game? And fair enough, it got to 26.
What's Vossi's streak on?
Before Sunday started.
Sorry, what's Vossi's streak
before
on?
Sunday started.
You go.
No, go and do it.
I was going to say, what's Vossi's streak on getting goal kickers to miss? Every time he drops 6 in a row from the corner or 25 straight without fail, they've missed. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Canane's getting a pretty good tally for himself as well. Every time he seems to mention someone, something happens, and it's generally not good. It's the old commentator's curse. Before Sunday started, I actually went and I thought to myself, if the Cowboys and the Titans are ever going to win a game, it's going to be in Magic Round, and it's going to be this weekend. And I went and changed the Dragons tip and didn't change the other two. They both lost. Fantastic. Well done, me. We had 5 tries apiece in this one. 3 out of 5 conversions, played 2 out of 5. A sin bin against Parramatta. 89% completion, played 82%. 406 plus running meters and 161 plus post-contact meters for Parramatta. 5 line breaks to 7. 40 tackle busts by the Titans, played 22 from Parramatta. 9 offloads to 18. 2 forced dropouts by Parramatta. 334 tackles, played 304. 6 errors from both sides. 3 penalties conceded, 7. Marcus Evo with 124 Supercoach points. Dylan Brown with 116, and David Fafita with 100.
Just on Vossi, he was absolute peak Voss in this game, and I was all in for it. I love it. So more power to him.
How excited does he get? So good.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
4 and double, things you love to see. That was fantastic. He was being the maestro in and around there. He was playing short to David Fafita and reaped the rewards off the offload, and then went himself.
The tough old bugger.
The tough old bugger. And then another thing that I don't mind seeing, to be honest, is Gutherson getting sent to the bin for 10 minutes. So I had a good little chuckle.
I was honestly waiting for him to review it. The way he was carrying on there, I was waiting for him to go, no, review.
But we got the teapot. We didn't quite get the hands up in the air, but
anyway. He has the hands in the air before blokes are on the ground. A bloke will get tackled, and if he's a dummy, half the hands are in the air before they hit the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was fair enough sin bin, I thought. He definitely dragged him off the ball. Cam Pereira played it up a little bit, but that's what you do, I suppose, in that situation.
Yeah, it's
Parrot scored straight away, from a minute into the game, and I was really worrying signs for the Titans. I thought, here we go. Is it going to be one of those days where their outside edges just open up and they get absolutely slaughtered by Parramatta? But it wasn't to be. They strengthened up their defence, and they just backed their attack. They were all out attack for the first probably 40, 50 minutes of this game, and they went in with a plan to really test that left-hand edge with Foran and Fafita, given the Parramatta side all sorts of problems on that side of the field. I'm not sure who was directly marking Fafita, but they'd be having nightmares for a little while. He was fantastic again in this game. he's been doing the work all year, but this was one of those games where he really had an impact in attack, which is probably something he hasn't done. Like he's been good in attack, but he didn't blow a team away like he did in this, and he was fantastic. He was a big part of the reason for the
Especially
strong
doing it
start
over
that they
80
had.
minutes too. Like he's now genuinely becoming a complete package.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Parramatta missed the trick at the start of the game, to be honest. Playing Madison off the bench, and they got steamrolled in the middle of the field. Tino and Fafita just went apeshit, just caused all sorts of problems through the middle of the field for Parramatta. Junior tried to sort of put the fight up, but he was a lone ranger in that situation. And then a couple of the other Titans forwards got in amongst it as well, with your mate Mo doing all sorts of damage through the middle of the field as well. And Parramatta couldn't stop them, to be honest, for that first, at least, probably, 20 minutes, half an hour. Titans were all over the top of Parramatta in the middle of the field. And then they had some really good plays off the back of it with Foran, as we mentioned, and Fafita getting involved. Left-hand side wingers on both sides of the field had a field day. Carl Pereira and Sivo just walking through, scoring untouched with some really good play to get them involved. Dylan Brown looked as dangerous as I've ever seen him, especially at the back end of this game.
Dylan Brown was the best player in the field. It looked like he was going to single-handedly drag him kicking and screaming to 30 points.
If Fafita wasn't out there, he would have been the best player by the length of the field, but he was probably only the best player by about 30 or 40 metres because David Fafita was out there. But every time he touched the ball in the second half, I was expecting points. He was just carving them apart with his footwork and his pace. And if he wasn't doing it, he was setting someone up and putting them into half a hole outside him, and then they were working from
the best comparison I can compare that game to, that is Munster at his best. That is Munster level. Yeah.
Munster
absolutely outstanding, especially given his partner did sweet fuck all. Gutho was okay, but Moses was MIA for a lot of this.
But he looked like he was going to tear the Titans apart in the back half, and I actually thought they were going to win by a couple of tries because every time he touched the ball, he just broke holes left, right, and centre. Probably didn't help that Lane was a bit quiet and could have been a little bit more involved. But there just wasn't that sort of second option once he did break the line. There wasn't that many people following him through, which has been a constant gripe of mine, realistically, because it's probably one of the easiest things to do is just, when you see there's someone on fire and your job is to be a support player, you just follow him all day. There should have been a message sent out 10 minutes into that second half, just kid around Dylan Brown, provide him options everywhere you can. And I think they probably would have won by 3 or 4 tries. They didn't do it. They almost got away with it. I thought Cartwright and Lane were okay. So was Paulo, but they missed the trick in dummy half. Their dummy halves were horrendous in this game.
Yeah,
Hodgson was very poor, and Hands wasn't any better.
Well, it was funny because I thought when Hands came on, I was like, "Oh, here we go," and I couldn't even remember him doing much but shoveling the ball. To be honest,
yeah, absolutely. They didn't look like doing anything until the ball got out somewhere near Dylan Brown. Funnily enough. Cartwright was okay. Tennessee, I thought was strong. He's mentioned him last week and probably the week before. His running game's really good at the moment. He's a threat most of the time when the ball's around him, and so with Gutherson, apart from being sent off for 10 minutes. Madison was awesome. I thought he was. I think he needs to come back and start playing 80 minutes.
I can only assume it's a fitness thing because I don't know why he's not.
I don't know if it's 20 minutes to start the game in the middle and then go to an edge for the next 60, or the opposite way around and get Hopgood to do the dirty stuff for 20 minutes and then Madison comes in and tries to sort of play some ball in the middle of the field. But
I would have thought my starting point here would be to assume that I'm going to try and get 80 minutes out of all 3 of them and then work backwards and then
absolutely.
Bulk up your props so you can give RCG a bit more of a rest, give Paul a bit more rest, and then go. And Makatel was actually in pretty good form.
Yeah, and they pushed Ogden off the bench for some reason after a really good performance last week.
Yeah, so get back to, once you get RCG back, get back to bolstering your front row and just work on them having
I'd be
Well,
starting Madison on an edge for half an hour, give him, the time to feel into the game, and then swapping him with Hopgood.
yeah,
And then letting him do that nasty stuff in the middle of the field, create offloads, and Hopgood just lays down the lines on does what the back row is doing, runs good, strong lines out there.
yeah.
But to me, that was sort of where they missed a trick at the start of the game. 1-13 for the Titans was fucking tremendous. I don't think there was a player out there in the starting lineup that put in a poor performance. I thought they were all really good.
Jaden Campbell needs to be starting in first grade somewhere when AJ's back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's in this team, whether
I
it's...
think that's why they keep him there, because they're not sure how often they're going to have AJ on the field. You have a look at his career, man. He's been injured a lot.
I know he's small. I would almost go as far as start getting Campbell ready to take over from Kieran Foran in a couple of years. And just leave AJ. I know they tried it last year. It was okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's more ball playing in Campbell, and actually having Campbell put AJ through holes. AJ's one of the best in the comp for line break, like just hitting the right hole at pace, and then off he goes.
And there's potential to have Campbell probably be slightly bigger than AJ, realistically. If you put the weights into him and whatever, he could probably be a bit more of a robust.
He's got the frame.
Well, he's shown that he's a bit more robust than AJ.
Yeah.
So,
but like his dad managed to play in the front line his whole career, so
it wasn't the worst. Like he missed a few tackles here and there, but that's what happens.
Yeah, but you get that.
You get that.
I think that that's, if you're going to keep him here, that would be where I would be starting to think, because I feel like he's probably got more ball playing in him. I think we don't even see the best of him. But
he'd be a starting fullback for 6 or 7 teams.
Yeah, I shouldn't say most. 6
at least.
Fair. Yep.
So I thought Randall was good again.
Yes.
A lot of defense. Mo, very good on the attacking side of the ball.
Do you have the Mo song? I don't have it on mine. It must be on your road card.
Yeah, I think it's on this one. I'd have to go find it.
It's fine. I have to play it right now.
The back five were all dangerous at times. Kelly was very good. Jojo Fafita was also very good, and Cam Pereira. They were probably the standouts of the back five, but I don't think any of them had a bad game. The halves were very good. Boyd played a fantastic game. I thought his kicking game and control, and this one was fantastic. And Tino and Dave Feeder were the difference through the middle of the field. They absolutely dominated when those two were going tit for tat, one after the other through the middle of the field. They're as close to Carrigan and Haas as anybody else in the comp.
Yep.
Chuck Moe in there. Fucking hell. But yeah, Dylan Brown was the best player on the
field. Those three should be in the Queensland squad. Simple as that.
Be surprised if they're not.
Yeah, you couldn't, there's blokes you can't be picking. Well, obviously,
I'd argue Mo may not get a spot just because they've got Carrigan and Haas to plug in there as well, and they seem to like Flegler. Wasborough's the hot tip at the moment as well.
Yeah,
Collins.
Collins. So they pick and stick, don't they?
Yeah, but I can't see
would take now
Dave Fafita missing a spot
now.
And
Cotter's there. They'll pick Cotter. They like who they've got.
Tino's one of their first pick anyway. So.
Yeah. Still, doing well. I agree. 3 to Brown, 2 to Fafita, 1 to Foran.
Yeah, I had Foran or Tino, but yeah, give it a Foran.
Give it a tough
the way they started the game, the tough old Rooster, whatever the other superlatives that they chucked in there. They gave him 3 or 4 different names by the end of the
game. Cool. That's it. Any final takeaways from the round? It was what it was.
There's a lot of kicking in behind the line, which seems to be a common theme up at Suncorp, which I think you're going to see a lot more of. Expect maybe even a little super coach tip if your team's going up to Suncorp, look for the guys with a really good short kicking game, because there seems to be a lot of try assists with people coming off the line and not being able to turn around and get back. So if you've got someone with a good short little grubber, you're going to probably get a couple of try assists out of that every game.
Particularly if you're playing against the Dolphins and they've got Valance playing, because God bless him, but
something they didn't do as well.
He's gonna we've seen if you come roaring on the scene and teams work it out, it'll start happening. They'll turn around.
I think just about every game had at least 1, probably 2 little grubbers in behind the line for tries.
Yep.
And it's a common thing up there, whereas definitely at one end of the field, which they all talk about, gets no sun and it's very slippery, but it's always very slippery up there, especially of a night game. So if you've got someone up there on a night game, good little halves and 5/8 with the short king game are probably something looking at for try assists.
Good shout. Got a pot plant.
I haven't even looked at this, to be honest.
That's right. I'm gonna.
Might have to give me a minute.
You're right. I'm gonna throw out Xavier Coates because I'm just not sure he's with us this season. So, yeah, got shown up a little bit there, but he's not alone in that Melbourne team at the moment.
No, absolutely not.
Pot plant, David.
Yeah, well, mine was Suoligi. I'm very unimpressed. I mentioned it during the recap of the show. I think he had 6 runs in 80 minutes. He did make 16 tackles, but he missed 4 of them and had 2 errors as well. And he just really seemed completely uninterested in doing any hard work at all. So, yeah, very close to the worst performance of the round for mine.
Yeah, no, hard to argue. You got a slap for us?
Yeah, Kelma Tuolangi. Another one who played 80 minutes. He had 8 runs in 80 minutes for a back rower. That's nowhere near good enough. And made 23 tackles, missed 5 of them. I think 2 of them led to tries and made 3 errors on the back of that as well. So
I'm going to slap.
We know he can be better.
Yes. Well, speaking of knowing him better, I'm going to slap the Roosters. They've been just pretty ordinary, all bar one game this year. And
your attack's been atrocious.
I'm going to hope that they can get their shit together because otherwise they won't be playing finals footy this year.
No.
Simple salute for me. I'm going to salute Magic Round. Love it. I love the concept. I love what they're building up there. It is built year on year. They were sold out each day this year. And coverage is fantastic and can't wait to get up there next year.
Jerry Marshall King, another one we heaped praise on in the previous show. 45 tackles, only missed 2 of them. 3 tackle busts, a try assist, and was a part of all the good things that happened for that Dolphins team. And his service is as good as anybody had it coming up at the moment. So he's really pushing himself as one of the best hookers running around.
Good shout. We've made it through technical difficulties, Barn. Well done. We'll be back very shortly to look at round 11 as we're on the road to Origin now. He's dead now. And we will check out Rugby League merch, of course. Check out PCTC tipping comps. And we will be back soon to preview what's going on this week.